Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Television shows have producers. Those are the people behind the scenes who make things happen. And my channel has got producers in the sense that my audience sends me stuff and says, Steve, check this story out. This is a story I bet you're going to want to do. And 5 people sent me this story in about the last 12 hours, recognizing that despite the fact it's an obscure story, many people will be interested in this, and it actually affects many of us if you drive a vehicle with a license plate on the back. So, from William Morris wrote this for the Des Moines Register. Trailer hitch in front of license plate doesn't justify a traffic stop, according to a court. It happened in Altoona. And what we're talking about, of course, is the idea that on the back of your car, you got a license plate. You're driving down the road, police officer can look over, oh, I see your license plate. What if you've got a trailer hitch or a bike rack or something behind the license plate that is obscuring it so it cannot be seen from further back? Is that illegal? And the court here says no. And the court says if you got a problem with that, take it up with the legislature. So it is not a crime in Iowa for one's trailer hitch to partially obscure one figure on one's license plate. And a similar thing happened in Michigan. I'll talk about that afterwards. So that's according to the Iowa Court of Appeals. And we're talking about Iowa, of course. They ruled recently that an Altoona police officer was wrong to pull over a truck after struggling to read its license plate. Subsequently charged as a habitual offender for driving while barred, the driver appealed to challenge the legality of the traffic stop. Why'd you pull me over? I couldn't see your license plate. Why not? The trailer hitch was in the way. That was the excuse. So this is a 2-1 decision, which means that of 3 judges, 2 agree with the guy, 1 disagrees. And they're talking about interpreting state law, which requires license plates be displayed, and here's the quote, in a place and position to be clearly visible, and shall be maintained free from foreign materials and in a condition to be clearly legible. So it appears that there's 2 or 3 things that must be true about how your license plate is mounted for it to be legal. In a place and position to be clearly visible. So most cars and trucks have got a place in the back for a license plate that's clearly a place and position that would make it visible. The second part, though, is shall be maintained free from foreign materials and in a condition to be clearly legible. So free from foreign materials, most people go, that's dirt, grime, dust, snow, other junk that might fly up onto your license plate. We've seen people driving down the road with a license plate that's covered with gunk, okay? Shall be maintained free from foreign materials and in a condition to be clearly legible. So the condition of the plate also matters. We've seen license plates that get deteriorated and rotted from rust or the elements or whatever. And I mean, some states make you keep the plate for a long, long time. And I've seen people live out in the country whose plates get destroyed very, very quickly from just junk flying up from the road, I believe. Gets sandblasted going down the road. So the law requires it in a place and position to be clearly visible and maintained free from foreign materials and in a condition to be clearly visible. Those are the 3 things. Prosecutors argued the law requires the plate to be entirely readable from all angles. The court cited an Illinois case that pointed out such an interpretation would apply not just to towing hitches, but bicycle and wheelchair carriers and trailers in general. But entirely readable, despite the fact it sounds cool, isn't in the law. It doesn't say that. It says the license plate must be displayed in a place and position to be clearly visible, blah, 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 blah. So entirely readable, although nice, not the law. Digging into the grammar of the statute, the court concluded that a license plate is in a place and position to be visible if it is positioned horizontally at least 12 inches from the ground, as the statute requires, and the language about foreign materials and clearly legible refer to mud or other temporary obstructions rather than a permanent component of the vehicle like a trailer hitch. They're saying, yeah, that obviously is referring to stuff that could get on the plate. You're required to keep your plate clean. Clean your plate. And a judge wrote, our modern cases reflect that same understanding. Foreign materials are substances like dust, mud, or snow. Under this reading of section 321.38, a ball hitch would not qualify as a foreign material that motorists must keep their plates free from. The opinion also compares the language in the law to that used in related statutes, such as the one governing use of license plate frames. They actually have a statute on that in Iowa. If the legislature had wanted the plate to be fastened and maintained so that all numerals and letters were in full view, it could have said so, the judge wrote. The legislature is free to criminalize ball hitches. The judiciary is not. So the court is saying, we are following the law. That's the way the law is written. If you don't like the way the law is written, that Steve Lehto guy on YouTube says, go get the law rewritten. So you go to the legislature. So I suspect what's going to happen now is prosecutors and other organizations are going to go to the legislature and say, could we please get a clarification on the license plates and whether or not they need to be clearly visible from a certain distance, or whether or not we can consider things like ball hitches or bike racks and so on to be against the law because they obscure the license plate from being seen behind the vehicle. In a dissenting opinion, the judge wrote that the trailer hitch violated the law's requirement that the plate remain clearly visible, and wrote, although clear and therefore clearly can have different meanings in different contexts, the meaning that fits here is probably unhampered by restriction or limitation, he wrote. If a license plate is hidden behind a trailer ball, the plate cannot be seen. It is not visible, let alone clearly visible. The decision means that the traffic stop and all the evidence that flowed from it was illegal and sends the case back to the district court where it will likely be dismissed. So the question is, you got the car, you got the license plate on it, you got the bumper hitch, and you got the ball on it, and that, of course, will block the vision of certain angles, and at that point, is that illegal? And I can tell you that this exact same issue arose in Michigan a couple years ago. And it arose because of a traffic stop that started when a police officer, I believe, said he couldn't read the license plate on a vehicle because of a bike rack. The bike rack was mounted to a bumper trailer hitch thingy on the back, a thingy. That's a thing now. And and it was one of those bike racks that, comes out, goes up, and bikes hang here. And the license plate would be here and the car would be here. And so obviously the bikes are between the license plate and an observing police car from behind the vehicle. And they would block that view somewhat, but that would happen with any vehicle with a bike rack of that sort on the back. And so people went to Lansing and said, can you please clarify the law on this? And we want it to be legal to put bike racks on vehicles and other things back there. We're not trying to hide the plate. That just happens to be the nature of the beast. And I mean, I've seen vehicles towing something. And if the thing that they're towing is fairly close up the vehicle doing the towing, and depending on how the license plate is, if it's recessed at all, sometimes that can be hard to see too. And so I actually agree with this ruling 100%. I also would not disagree if the legislature revisited this to say, okay, they interpreted the statute as we wrote it, I believe correctly, maybe we could clarify it. And so they could say things like, well, you're allowed to have a bumper hitch and you're allowed to have a bike rack, but the license plate should be visible, and they'd have to define some other way, because a vehicle with a bike rack on it, you can read the license plate. You may have to put a little more work into it. So there you go. But like I said, a lot of people, 5 people, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sent this to me, all saying, Steve, this is a topic you'll probably want to cover, and I do. So this is in Iowa specifically. But as noted, it's arisen in Illinois and Michigan and a few other states. And so really, most vehicles have got a place to put a license plate. You put the license plate there, you go about your life, and a cop could pull you over and say, well, but your bike rack or your ball hitch or something is blocking that, and I had to pull you over to poke around a little bit. And the question is, do we want that happening? So trailer hitch in front of a license plate does not justify an Altoona traffic stop, the court rules. William Morris wrote that for the Des Moines Register, and Dan, Paul, Andy, Vincent, Neil all send it. Thanks a lot. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law.
The cost of liberty is less than the price of repression.